with Save Our Springs, and I'm going to turn it over to Megan. Let's give her a big round for being here today.
Thank you guys. Good morning, everyone. So first, I would like to thank Darlene for inviting me out here. I would also like to thank Alfonso for hosting us in this beautiful location. And I would like to thank you guys for being here today. I really love going places and seeing people who care about the environment and who care about the same things I care about. So I'm very happy to be here today. As we mentioned, my name is Megan Wutzke. I work for Save Our Springs Alliance as an outreach coordinator. So I work with a lot of younger people. I work with a lot of high schoolers. I work with a lot of college interns. But I wear a lot of hats at Save Our Springs. So I work with just about everyone at some point or another. I studied environmental sciences at Oregon State University with a specialization in science communication. Mostly writing, but I love to nerd out and just talk about science all day. I actually live in Dripping Springs. I live a bit closer to Hamilton Pool area, so a lot of my knowledge is very based in West Hays County. And I've been here for a few years. I'd also like to introduce our summer intern, Audrey Orman. She is here to help me set up, to help work the camera, and also answer any questions. But I will say a lot of her training has been Barton Springs based. But there's a lot of overlap because Barton Springs comes from the Edwards Aquifer. So, let's get into it. The Edwards Aquifer, as I'm sure most of you know, is one of the most important natural resources in all of Texas. It provides drinking water for millions of people. It feeds our springs and our rivers, and it supports a very diverse array of species that are found nowhere else in the world. It is a biodiversity hotspot. However, the aquifer is underground. We can see the effects, we can see the springs, and we can see the water pushing up, but we don't typically see the aquifer itself. And as they say, out of sight, out of mind. So even though it is a super important resource, we don't really think about it that much unless we're in trouble. Understanding the Edwards Aquifer is particularly important in this area because we live right on top of a very sensitive area. It's a very environmentally sensitive spot. So today we're going to talk about how the Edwards Aquifer formed. We're going to talk about why this area is so important. And we're going to talk about why it's special compared to other aquifers and why protecting this aquifer is in our best interests. I would also just like to point out, a lot of my information is a bit more general because the Edwards Aquifer is such a complex topic. If we were to actually get into all the nitty-gritty details, we would be here all semester and talking about it for quite a long time. So, Wendy! Here's the Edwards Aquifer. But first, you look at all this and let's close your eyes for a second and think back 100 million years.
I was a young child.
Really? You look great for your age. Instead of the trees, instead of the rolling hills, instead of all this grass, it is actually a warm, shallow sea. And just like every good ocean, there are a lot of clams. We got clams, we got corals, we got mollusks. We have all these really tiny little microscopic organisms, and then they died. Just like everything dies, and seashells are no exception. So as these, actually first let's back up. What are seashells made out of? Anybody know?
Calcium.
Calcium. Exactly. Calcium carbonate. Excellent choice. Excellent knowledge there. So we have all that calcium carbonate creating layers upon layers upon layers. And eventually, as time went on over the millions of years, they compressed into a very hard limestone. Now, I was raised in Minnesota, so I think I know snow a bit more than you guys do. But I'm pretty sure everyone here knows enough about snow to know that the first snowfall, well, it's really fluffy, right? Really fluffy and soft and perfect for a snowball fight. But as Snow goes on top of it. The snow gets compressed and it turns into an ice chunk. And then your snowball fight turns into an ice chunk fight, and now your mom is mad at you for pummeling your little brother with ice. Same thing happened here with all of the seashells. The seashells just went on top of each other and compressed down into a very dense rock. What is that rock called? Limestone. Yeah. You guys know all this. Sorry, I lose my train of thought sometimes. All right. So underneath our feet, big giant rock that used to be the prehistoric sea. But that's not the aquifer, right? If it was just smushed into a big rock, it would still just be a big rock. So what makes it special? What makes it the aquifer? Well, 20 million years ago, tectonic forces started to form Central Texas. Over to the west, which I'm really bad at where's west? That way. Over to the west, the land went up, and over to the east, the land went down. It kind of ended up going more like this. And as this happens, right here is a giant crack. We call this the Balcones Fault Line. And as that Balcones Fault Line started to form and things started getting bigger, the whole limestone started to crack. And as that happens, the little cracks started forming, but then the rain happened. What happens when rain hits water?
It floods. It floods.
It does flood.
Oh.
It floods and it dissolves. So, fun fact about rain. Rain is actually slightly acidic. It absorbs carbon dioxide from the soil and from the atmosphere. I have seltzer water today. This is kind of similar to rain. It's lost a lot of its fizz, but that's good. The carbonation in the rain itself is the same carbonation in your suns. So, all the rain started going down on the limestone. It started dissolving bits of it. Let's take a quick look at this rock. As we can see in this rock, what do we notice about it?
Holy and holy.
Big and holy. Oh my gosh. So, I'm so sorry guys, I lost my train of thought for a moment. All right.
It's okay.
So, this limestone has lots of holes in it. What is this limestone called when it has lots of holes in it?
Karst.
Karst limestone. I got one more word that I don't think anyone else knows. Who knows what the actual word for the holes are?
Honeycomb? Oh, those are good.
Don't know. Hang on.
Audrey, do you know what the word for the hole is?
Bugs.
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 Bugs. V-U-G-S.
Bugs. Oh.
I recently learned this. I'm going to be using it at every presentation forever and ever. I love this piece of information. So it's got bugs in it. So
does that only apply to the holes, not the cracks?
only the holes. Well, I think it's only the holes. The holes and cavities are called bugs, not the cracks. But those cracks become holes, right? Little cracks become big cracks. Big cracks become large cracks. Large cracks become conduits. And those conduits become caves. So underneath our feet are millions of these rocks with all of the holes. Some of them are connected, some of them aren't. It's a lot like a giant sponge. So a lot of people, when they think about aquifers, they think that it is a giant underground pool underneath our feet. And that's not really accurate. In some spots it might look a little bit like that, but not, for the most part it doesn't. For the most part, it's more like a big giant sponge and the water is running through it. Actually, and here is a good, go right here. Right here we have a cave picture. This picture was taken by one of our friends, Nico Howard. Some of you might know Nico. He is our resident cave guy at SOS. I love Nico. He's always trying to get me to go into a cave with him. And everyone, not just me, just to be clear. He's trying to get everyone to go into a cave with him. But as we can see down in this picture, there's people down there. There's also a lot of trash down there because way back in the day, people just throw their trash in the holes in the ground because out of sight, out of mind. Well, now all that trash is in our sorry, wind is taking my papers away. So as we can see here, those little holes, after millions and millions of years, and after millions of water going through and slowly dissolving it, they become large things, so big enough that people can actually go through them.
Megan, do you know where that was taken in?
Yes, that was taken at Midnight Cave.
Where was it?
It's over in this pink zone. You'll find it. Over by Mopac is usually what a lot of our caves are over by Mopac.
Mopac and Barton Springs area?
Yeah. There we go. I am going to do a little science experiment for us because I get a lot of people asking like, oh, well, if the water goes through the ground, it's being filtered out, right? Well, sometimes. This is a jar of sand. This is a jar of rocks. I'm going to name this jar of sand the Ogallala for no reason. And I'm going to name this one Edwards, because why not? We could also name it Trinity, but that's another thing. So I got some rainwater here, and I'm going to pour a little bit of rainwater into Ogallala. Pour a little more in Ogallala. Oh, we can see it going down. I'm going to pour a little more into Ogallala. And a lot more. That is taking forever to get down there. And it's fizzy. That's cool. I'm going to pour it into Edwards. And it's already in the groundwater. That was dang fast. So which aquifer, which jar here do you think is actually going to recharge faster? Edwards. Obviously, right? That's a good thing, right?
Yes.
Yeah, usually that's a good thing. It is usually a great thing that our aquifer fills up so fast, especially here in Texas where we don't get a lot of rain. What are some of the problems with that?
Us.
There's no filtration.
It doesn't leave anything on top for the plants to get water.
That is also absolutely correct. There's nothing here. It is already dry right here. Here it's still pretty wet. But yes, the pollution is a major issue. So, which one, as you already mentioned, this one is a lot more vulnerable to human activity. Some pollutants that can get down in there, we got pesticides, we got fertilizers, we have pet waste from people who don't pick up the dog poop. We have wastewater. All of that, it goes straight down in there because of those giant holes.
Not that it pertains to us at all, but like Memphis, Tennessee, the Memphis Sands,
Yeah.
the water there is actually some of the best tap water in the country.
Really?
Yeah, and it's because of the Memphis Sands and the whole entire city, they only operate.
Really?
And there's nothing that needs to be added. It's that good. I grew up there. Yeah, look it up, Memphis.
I will. And just so everyone heard what he said, he was actually saying that over in Memphis, the water is some of the best tap water you'll ever have. And it's because it gets filtered through all the sand. So they don't really have to do too much to the water because of how great it filters over here.
They have artesian wells that it goes through so much of that sand.
I believe it. Like I said, I came from Minnesota, so I got lake water everywhere. And that always, and iron water.
Well, it all flows right past it.
Okay. All right. Sorry to cut you off. We're going to take a look at this map here because a common question I get is, well, my wells actually come from the Trinity. I thought I get my water from the Trinity. Why the heck are we talking about Edwards? And the reason for that is because the Edwards, the Trinity, and the Edwards Trinity aquifers are sister aquifers, and things get really complicated. I usually tell people it's a lot like playing Plinko. You put a drop of water at the top, and you're not 100% sure where that water's going to go in some areas. So right here this is the Edwards aquifer. It's split into a little bit of north and south, and not on this map. We have the Trinity, which is up here. And then we would also have the Trinity Edwards, which would be over in this area. So we got 3 major zones of the Edwards Aquifer. Right here in this blue area. Oh, my things are flying everywhere. We have the contributing zone. Anybody know what a contributing zone is? Yes.
Well, pretty much impermeable rock, so that the water's not going into the ground. It's running off until it gets to the recharge zone.
That is exactly right. The water doesn't really go down as much. The water goes to the rivers, and it goes to the creeks and the streams, and it fills up those. And then it flows towards this pink area. Pink area is called the recharge zone. What do you think the recharge zone does?
Recharge.
It recharges, yeah. So the recharge zone is where the surface water becomes groundwater. It's kind of crazy to actually look at some of these, some videos of it, because it's just flowing straight down. It's almost like a waterfall at some places, particularly in caves with big holes in it. And then we got this little green area. What do you think this green area is called?
Saline?
Not quite. That's more on this guy, right next to it.
Transition.
That's a different thing. This thing right here is actually the artesian zone. So that is where you're going to find the majority of your springs. We got Barton Springs over here, somewhere in there. Oh, there's San Marcos. There's the up here, Barton Springs. There's also the Kamal Springs is in this area, and also Jacob's Well is in this area. So if you see water coming out of the ground, so groundwater is becoming surface water, you're probably in the artesian zone. So that's how when I'm talking to my high schoolers, that's what I tell them, that the recharge zone, surface water becomes groundwater, and then in the artesian zone, groundwater becomes surface water. And the reason why it pops up in all these springs is because when there's a lot of water down there, there's a lot of pressure, and it pops up this way. We can also make it come up through wells, which we're essentially just creating pressure to have it pop up. That's also why if you saw Jacob's Well 20 years ago versus Jacob's Well now, you'll see that there's a lot less pressure now.
No pressure.
Yeah,
Zero.
I haven't been there in about a year. There was
It's
nothing
zero
there
right
when
now.
I saw
Zero.
it a year ago.
It has
Years
not
ago.
moved.
Really?
Last summer
Went
was
there
there.
40 years
It's
ago.
not flowing. Not
Dive in
flowing.
and it would blow you out. So, you know, it's current.
It's not flowing right now.
It's not flowing right now. When I did go there a couple years ago after a flood, and it had suddenly gone up to about 20 cubic feet per second, which was crazy. And then like a week later, it was back down to 0. But there was a week where it was flowing beautifully. I'm very glad to have seen it. Yes.
Is there any recharge happening in the spring zone?
In the spring
In
zone,
the artesian zone?
not as much, because a lot of that water it's coming up and going into our streams and creeks. However, so a lot of these things right here, the creek, the streams, all of the water that comes up is going to go here into these creeks. It's going to be a lot more impermeable, and the water underneath that is actually going to be more saline. And that is because if you keep going down this way long enough, you're going to hit the ocean. Yes.
Would you be able to orient us as to where we are currently sitting on this map?
Sure. Well, I don't have it on this map, but I do have it.
Or Alana might be able to.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was going to say, I have this picture here.
Yeah, that's going to be.
Where are we?
We are going to be right about. Oh no, wait. I'm sorry.
I was gonna say.
We're right here on the county line.
Okay.
So yeah, we're right here.
We're right here. And if you also, you'll see that we're kind of like right on that recharge zone spot. Here's also a cute little map. I drew a little circle of where we are roughly, from where Alfonso said. I don't know if everyone can see that.
This is Little Bear Creek that's behind us, so you'll see it on that map.
Yes. Right there. It says confined zone. That's, when they say confined, a lot of times that is another fancy word for there's a lot of pressure right there. So all the pressure's building up right there to pop back out. Now, I mentioned that some areas are more fragile than others. And I have another rock for you. So back up, I want to tell you a little bit about this rock because this is my favorite rock. My dog actually found this rock. She loves this rock. She really, really loves this rock. So she always gets really sad when I bring it out for presentations. I swear, she licks it every morning. I don't know what it is. I don't advise you licking it, but apparently it tastes really good.
Oh,
But I have another piece of limestone. What are the differences between this chunk of limestone and this chunk of limestone?
It's had mud in it.
It's got, yeah, well, this one's dirtier. That's just from my yard.
Okay.
Different spot in my yard.
Moving rock,
Spongy.
It is a lot more spongy. All those little holes, well, they're little holes. Anyone want to use the fancy word we just learned?
Oh,
Bugs! This one's got bigger bugs. So, what do you think that means for water flowing through it?
the bigger the bug, the more water flows through.
Exactly. That is exactly it. The bigger the bugs, the more water flows through. The faster it goes through, the less hung up it's going to be by the little spongy cracks. So, this particular area is very vuggy.
This area.
This particular area. Hayes Commons, the particular, the aquifer at that spot, it has a lot more holes in it than other chunks of the aquifer. This, I will say, this rock came from when I lived in Driftwood, and this rock came from when I lived over in Dripping Springs. I don't know if that's completely I don't know if that's 100% accurate, but I will say that all my rocks in my Driftwood backyard had a lot more bugs than my Dripping Springs house does.
But some of my bugs are almost perfectly circular.
Really?
Yeah, and many are not, of course.
Mhm.
And I'm wondering what sort of pressure is created that causes circular bug opposed to
So when water travels through things, it doesn't want to go through a lot of jagged things, right? So there's going to be a lot more, it's going to pick the smoothest path, which the shortest path to things is often a circle. It's kind of why you don't see a lot of like perfect squares in nature versus circles. It's just how water travels through things. But you will see weird shapes that, I mean, it could have been a weird earthquake, or it could have been disturbance from something else. But underneath there's going to be a lot of circles. Even when you look at like I always mix up stalactites and stalagmites or whatever. But they're always like circular at the base, right? And they come down more in circles. There's going to be rings, of course, due to gravity and such. But how water travels is through a lot of circles. Let's switch gears a little bit and talk about some of the animals, because we're all concerned about our drinking water, right? We're concerned about our drinking water. We're concerned about how we're going to flush the toilets. However, a lot of animals are also concerned because they live in that water. So, I don't know, I hope no one here is afraid of spiders, because actually in this guy right here, right in that bug, is a little funnel spider. He's adorable. He comes out sometimes when I move the rock too fast. But otherwise he's hiding in there, doesn't really want to come out. This rock just lives on my patio, and it has living beings inside of it. So think about underneath the aquifer, where you have millions of these rocks and millions of these bugs, and think about what lives in those bugs. Well, there's for sure arachnids. We have several different types of harvestmen. I think on this side of the river it would be the bee cave harvestmen. I could be wrong on that. And there's also tooth cave spiders and all sorts of little creepy crawlies. We also have our infamous Texas blind salamander.
Thank God.
I love this little guy. We have another one of these who's a Barton Springs salamander, but this one is the Texas blind because he has kind of a shovel head, and that's how you can tell your salamanders apart. If they kind of look like they got weird crocodile heads, then it's probably a Texas blind. Also, there's no eyeballs. Texas blind salamanders have no functional eyes because they spend their entire life in the aquifer where there's no light. Since there's no light, why would you bother putting any energy towards eyeballs? We also have San Marcos salamander who lives, over in San Marcos, and those salamanders depend completely on spring-fed water. They kind of go down a little bit into the aquifer and they come up, but they really like the reliable flows, the consistent temperatures, and hopefully the clean water. Another really fun fact about salamanders, because if you actually see them in real life, they're only about this big. They're really, really tiny. I go see them at SMARC in San Marcos all the time. Really cute. But those salamanders, they're predators. They're actually considered top predators. They are the king of their little aquifer holes. All they do is they eat little macroinvertebrates, they eat little tiny shrimps, they eat a lot of bugs. But that means if those bugs have a lot of toxic chemicals on them and they're eating them, they end up consuming a lot of stuff. Another thing, all these salamanders got little gills. These gills very quickly get gunked up with sediment. They also, just like pretty much all amphibians, they absorb a lot of stuff through their skin. So if you're putting in, pollution, fertilizers, all that stuff right there, they're going to bring it all into their body and they will die. They're a little sensitive guys. I always say that this is a pretty sensitive little cardboard cutout because its arms want to wag off all the time. Real salamanders can actually regrow their limbs, but this guy cannot. And I'm kind of violent with this sign sometimes. I put them up in trees a lot. Any questions so far about anything I just talked about?
Always in the street. Don't they ever sleep? They are looking for